Exclamation plateau.
Tredegar Ironworks is located in Richmond, Virginia, near the James River. It used the power of the river to power its machinery. Here's how it looked during the 1800s. It was the largest iron foundry in the South and the third largest in the United States. It produced almost half the Confederate cannons and ammunition during the Civil War. It operated into the 20th century, but when steel replaced iron, it lost business. Then in 1952, a fire destroyed most of the buildings. Now it's home of the American Civil War Center. This map shows what is left of the original ironworks. The red buildings are still there today. But where did the name Tredegar come from? The man who founded the Tredegar Ironworks and the iron foundry on Belle Isle came from a town in England called Tredegar.
Hey boys and girls, this is Brad. We're now at Tredegar Ironworks, which is the building right behind me. This building was very, very important, especially during the Civil War times here in Richmond. What they did was they used iron to make things like cannons and ammunition and things like that the Confederates could use during the Civil War. When you get to the end studying the Civil War, you'll learn that Richmond was burned. The Confederates burned their own city because they didn't want the Northern troops to have any of their ammunition. But this building is still standing because the owner of this building paid 50 armed men to not let it burn down. So here it is. Welcome to Tredegar.
A day and a half after Richmond burned and was evacuated, President Lincoln came to visit with his son Tad, who was just celebrating his 12th birthday. He was warmly welcomed by the freed African Americans. To commemorate his visit, a statue of Lincoln and his son Tad was placed at Tredegar.
Boys and girls, here I am with Abraham Lincoln, our 16th President of the United States. And yes, here in Richmond, we are that important, because you know Richmond was the capital of Virginia. Well, what do you think about our trip so far, Abe? What do you think about the trekkers trekking and teaching these boys and girls all about the regions of Virginia and this special region here in the Piedmont?
And who's this little guy? Tad? You know you had a boy named Tad.
Hey, Tad. Put it there, man. That's all right.
Not everyone liked President Lincoln, however, and just 10 days after his visit to Richmond, he was assassinated in Washington, D.C. Near the Lincoln statue is a museum which has many artifacts from the Civil War. Here you can see models of what Tredegar Ironworks used to look like and a diorama showing how cast iron products were made. This is what is left of the furnace where pig iron from Western Virginia was melted down and poured into molds. Perhaps the most famous iron product made in Tredegar was the armor used on the Ironclad ship, the SSS Virginia, also known as the Merrimack, which fought in the Battle of Hampton Roads against the Union Ironclad ship, the Monitor. Neither ship won the battle.
Hey boys and girls, this is Dave here at Tredegar Ironworks in Richmond, Virginia. Now Tredegar is where they made a lot of the ammunition for the Civil War, so you're bound to see some cool Civil War weapons here. And here's one. This is a cannon that they used to fire back in those days. They loaded a big cannonball up in this hole and then fired it.
Tredegar often had to test their weapons. You can see it on this map next to the James River. Across the river was a Civil War prison on Belle Isle. Workers at Tredegar would sometimes fire their weapons toward the prison camp to scare the Union soldiers there. Tredegar was built along the James River for a very important reason.
The James River had an effect on the Tredegar Ironworks as well. Right behind me is an overshot water wheel. And the reason it's called an overshot water wheel, the water would come from the top and push down the water wheel. The water wheel would then turn turbines inside and blowers inside the Tredegar Ironworks that moved all the machines and kept their fires nice and hot.
Steam locomotives, an important mode of transportation in the 1800s, were also made at Tredegar.
Alright boys and girls, we're still here at Tredegar Ironworks, and this is what we call an iron horse. This train was used, there was over 2 miles of track right around here at Tredegar Ironworks. And what this train did, it transported all the metal and all the materials to the parts of the mill so they could be used and turned into ammunition during the Civil War. Once again, there's no electric power, no cars like we have today. This bad boy is powered with coal and water. It's a coal-burning locomotive. It would have a big fire in it, heat up some water. The water would spin the turbines, and this thing would move all around Tredegar Ironworks, right here in downtown Richmond. And did you know that?
Trekkin.